Right. Amanda, welcome to the I Dare You podcast. It is really good having you on the show.
I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited that we were able to connect on social media and now turn it into this chat.
Amanda, I mentioned this to you before we started recording. I've been following your story for a number of years. Your story is very unique. Probably what resonated with me about your story is that it's this person who has been through been through a lot of life and has
Yeah.
a lot of story to tell. And back up for us about what is it that you do and how did you get to this point in life?
Yeah. So I actually was born in the Midwest to a first generation college household. My parents didn't have the chance to go to college. My dad's actually the town plumber. He started his own plumbing and electrical
I
business, and my
love that.
mom's a stay-at-home mom. And so for me to go to college was kind of like big for my town. My graduating class, like I grew up on a farm. My graduating class was like, I think like 40.
Hmm.
So very small town living. And I went to college, paid for college myself, had 4 jobs in college, and got a job at Ernst Young right out of school where I
Whoa.
managed their Entrepreneur of the Year program. So I not only got to watch like my dad start a company, and he was always still available. Like he coached all of my sports teams and all of that. And so I knew I had this kind of like two sides of me where I wanted to like build things and have a big successful life, but I also wanted to like be at home with my kids and enjoy being a mom. I got married at engaged at 19, married at 21.
Oh,
Yeah. And back then they called it getting your MRS degree, where you go to college, you meet the person, you get married, which is so funny to think
yeah.
about. That was, so long ago. And I moved from Chicago to New York, where I was still working with Ernst and Young, but I decided to kind of do a 180 with my career. And I went and worked for a celebrity wedding planner.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I managed his brand, but also planned celebrity weddings and learned so much about people, about organization and planning, but also managing his brand where he had licensing deals, a reality TV show that I had to work on. So it was just like I was exposed to so much newness. From there, I launched my first startup, which was a tech company for the wedding industry.
Okay.
I did an accelerator program in New York City called Startup Leadership Program, and learned so much about just what it meant to build a business. And that business didn't go the way I wanted it to, but I learned so much. So I was at a female pitch night one night, and the founder of the Knot was on the judging panel. I was pitching my little wed tech startup, and she pulled me aside afterwards and was like, "Let's grab coffee tomorrow. Let's talk." And told her that I was like, "I love what I'm doing, but it's not going in the direction I want to go." And she was like, "Come work for us." So that took me to the Knot, where I eventually led brand marketing for 5 years and built the consumer marketing team there. It was cool because it was a public company when I first went there. So I got to get a front row seat into building within a large organization. Then COVID hit.
Mm.
I was, managing a huge team, but also an industry that really was completely disrupted by COVID. While navigating, I was going through a divorce and I had
Oh.
3 kids under the age of 5 at the time.
Oh, Amanda.
So that everything kind of imploded at once. Um, and it was an amazing experience of like learning resilience, learning how to intentionally create space for myself when there was no space to be found. And that led me to starting my next startup, which was House of Wise. It was a supplement business to help women create more space for sleep, sex, stress, and strength.
Yep.
I did that for a few years. I raised over $2 million of VC capital. I then sold it in 2023. And since then, I've been really focused on writing and sharing all that I had learned about what it looked like to balance ambition with contentment, what it means to like have big career goals and want to go make money and want to build something that impacts others and also yourself, while also needing to be, I was a single mom. So I didn't have anyone there to kind of support not only the cognitive load, the emotional load, but just the physical load and the financial load. So I now talk about that. And then, that led to getting the book deal that I have and the book coming out.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. The book is called Toxic Grit, everyone. The subtitle is How to Have It All and, in parentheses, actually love what you have. It's going to be released in 1 week on October 21st. So, congratulations on being an author. And this book is going to rock. What does it feel like to be an author? Was this always part of the plan?
It's funny. When I was 30, I wrote on a random piece of paper that I wanted to be an author before I turned 40.
Is that right?
And I did. And I turned 40 next Wednesday.
Happy birthday.
So I did it. The book comes
Yeah.
out literally the day before my birthday. And yeah, I love writing. I have loved writing since I was little, but it's really funny with careers. And I think maybe a lot of your listeners can relate to this. I think sometimes when you start a career, you think, well, that's what I am. I have put this stamp on myself of like, well, I was a marketer or I was a lawyer or and I hear that over and over again. And it feels weird and kind of this amorphous thing to step out of it and now try to identify something else, especially 20 years into your career. So I think it's still this kind of like, I feel like I'm putting on someone else's clothes still, and I'm like, I'll learn to fit into this in a second, but it's still new.
Yeah. I have to go back to your dad being the plumber. And where did you grow up? What small town in the Midwest?
So it's Stark County, Illinois. Wyoming, Illinois is the actual town, but because it's a lot of farm towns, everybody from the small farm towns in the entire county go to one school.
I was just talking to someone about this. By the way, you and I, you could be my much, 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 much younger sister. Okay. But I grew up in a small town in the Midwest. My graduating class was 35. And
Okay.
maybe I'm making this too romantic, Amanda. Tell me if you think I'm crazy. But I look back on growing up in a small town and I realized what an advantage it was from a work ethic, persistence, community. Everyone's got your back. Give me your take on what did you learn through growing up in a small town? Do you agree with me or would you disagree?
Current me 100% agrees with you. 16-year-old me would have been like, what are you talking about? Everyone's the same. No one wants to like do any. And so, but current me, I have such a romantic view of my childhood.
Me too.
The thing, and my parents literally built the house they live in. They're still there. My parents have never been on an airplane. So their world is pretty small and they stay there. And when I go back, I have such an appreciation for everything you said. I would add two things. The people genuinely care about you and they are like, they keep up with your life. When they see my dad out, they're like learning about what's happening. And then I would say my strongest skill set and asset that have gotten me to where I am is because of my creativity. And the only reason I think I'm as creative as I am is because of the lack of stimulation that I had growing up. I have a brother that's 7 years older than me. So I was basically an only child.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, go outside, don't come back for hours. And I would have to go outside and dream up a scenario to play and spend hours doing. So I'd take corn tassels and turn the hair into spaghetti and I'd have a restaurant going outside. And it's like those things I think about now with 3 kids. It's like, go be bored. I was bored constantly.
That is profound. Do you get into that at all in your book on Toxic Grit? I love that.
So one of the vehicles for which I explain toxic grit is through character theory. and the idea that we innately have these different characters inside of ourselves. And one of them is the creative. And what does the creative need? They need boredom. They need space to actually dream and think. So I definitely touch on it for sure.
Okay. All right. Last thing. Small town. My uncle was a plumber. And you know what I realized? He recently passed away. And I just realized, learning more about his life after the fact, he did so much work pro bono as a plumber.
Oh,
He would
my dad
help out the elderly. He would just do things for people. My dad is an electrician, also in a small town. Same thing. They would just do things for people. Sounds like maybe
is.
your dad as well.
Oh, the same. Like he, if one of the like older, there's this like group of older sisters. They were in their like 70s and 80s, and if one of their heat went out and it was the dead of winter in the
Yeah.
middle of the night, he'd go and fix it. And it's truly remarkable, like how physically demanding and yet like how giving he was with that. And the other thing I'll say about blue collar work in general, but being someone's daughter, and I went on jobs with him a lot,
I bet.
I learned so much about people and who they were by watching how they treated him. Because for me, my dad is on a pedestal. Like he works hard, he's there, he's my coach for everything.
Yeah.
And to watch some people with money, I didn't grow up with a lot, treat him in a way that was almost like dehumanizing was really fascinating. And if you connect that then to, I was planning celebrity weddings, I got exposed to people who had so much money and how they would treat me as their wedding planner. And so it's really fascinating. And I kind of have now at this stage of my life, like a very crisp radar for who are the people that I will let into my life, and also watch and see how they treat the people around them.
That's beautiful. Well said. All right. Well, I love your dad. I'm just telling you that right, right now.
Same.
That's wonderful. All right. Hey, Amanda. So, toxic grit, as you described it, 2022, selling your company, going through divorce, single mom, making a move. The fact that you, what I would call, rallied and moved forward and did these things, strikes me as very unique and rare. What kept you going versus the alternate path? As you and I both know, we've seen it. You let life push you down and you change your dreams and you settle. What was driving you at that time?
I think many moms will relate to this. When you are given more and more, you just keep going because you kind of have to. And so there is, when you have a lack of a safety net, that is a quite, um, I guess, fuel for resilience, right? If you've no one to save you, you have to keep going, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I knew very quickly that I needed to create or find space for processing. And if I didn't, I always have this visualization of a fireplace. And if you light a fire in a fireplace and you don't open the vent, you will let all that toxic air into the house and it will kill you. So I knew I needed to prioritize ventilation. I needed to process these things. And so for me, that was therapy. That was making sure that I moved my body every day because I knew I was storing all of this anger and intensity inside of me. And sleep, like anything that was messing up my sleep, I knew, because if I didn't sleep, and I've studied sleep now with sleep doctors because of my last company, if your anxiety will just compound if you are not protecting your sleep. So I just was like, what do I need to do to make sure that every night I am allowing my body to reset? So those are kind of, if I could just, I'm all about simplification. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, three things: therapy, movement, sleep. If I did those three things well, I was maintaining.
Yeah. Isn't that something though? The older we get, the more we go through in life, you start learning more about your body and your mental state and what you need to do to survive and to thrive. Toxic Grit, how to have it all and actually love what you have. I was researching the book. You immediately caught my attention. Welcome to a new approach to ambition. For years, we've been told the answer to burnout is better balance. But what if balance is the wrong goal? Okay, contrarian point of view. Tell me more about this. What are you going after?
So in the book, I talk a lot about intentional imbalance. So if we look at the word balance, what does that actually mean? It means equality, equal weight on both sides. Most people that I know, especially ambitious people, it is almost impossible for you to honor all the different parts of yourself in equality, in like balancing those things out. And I'll share a story that was kind of the origin of this. This was pre-COVID. I was leading marketing at the Knot. I was commuting down. I would drop the kids off at their respective daycare, preschool points of drop off.
Mm-hmm.
I would rush to the subway, grab my Starbucks on the way, try to eat on the subway, get to work all day, but I'd be pumping in between meetings and doing all of that. Then I'd get home and I'd get the kids, bathed, fed, ready for bed. I remember sitting there one night, rocking my son after I breastfed him. And I was like thinking to myself the phrase, "You can have it all." And I was like, this doesn't feel feasible.
Hmm.
I'm drowning. Where is the tension? And the tension was coming from the word you. Because if I started to actually go through my day and realize like there's three distinct versions of myself in that day. There's the version of me that loves work. I don't want to leave every meeting early to go pump and leave at 4:30 to go get the babies from their daycare. The version of me that wants success in my career doesn't have the same value system as the
Hmm.
version of me as a parent. If I isolated the version of me that's a parent, I don't care about work. I want to go play Legos with my kids
Yeah.
and make sure that they have the best meal and the most Pinterest perfect birthday. And then there's the version of me that wants to date and be loved and to feel passion and pleasure. And like the socialite version of me that doesn't care about work or my kids. And when I started to allow myself to think about these different versions in isolation, I realized that the only way I could have it all was to separate them and to allow seasons of time where I let those characters develop more. So, for example, there was a whole year of my life that I drove the speed limit with my career. I just drove the speed limit. I wasn't pushing to try to, get to the next level. I was just in maintenance mode. But then I focused on building community and
Sure.
dating and seeing people and seeing my friends. And that season grew that version of me so much. And then there's seasons of my life where I am pushing in my career. I've communicated to my kids, I'm going on a book tour for 6 weeks. Like I'm going to be on the road. And when you create intentional imbalance, what does that actually remove from everything? Guilt. The
Ah.
thing that is feeding everything. When you're trying to be all of those things all the time at 100% and you're failing, what happens? The byproduct is constant guilt. So the thing that I always tell people in coaching sessions and like when I'm meeting someone, I would rather be a fully present mom who's not looking at her phone, trying to multitask. I'd rather be that version of me for an hour or 2 hours than this like distracted, trying to like look at my phone,
Hmm.
answer Slacks for 4 hours a day.
You're right.
And so much is about awareness of which priorities, and that's like the hard thing I think as a working parent and a working mom. actually saying like my kids are not a priority right now, like hits this like ancestral programming as a woman to say, what?
Right.
Your kids aren't a priority. And it's like, yes, at a macro level, they're a priority. But today, I've said that we're going to order food, order takeout, and I am going to get up and I'm going to throw granola bars at them today because today I've got to push. But then tomorrow, we're going to go do something
Hmm.
together. And that's kind of the DNA of what I mean by intentional imbalance. Some days balance looks like more waiting on one because balance is actually just a macro perspective on life.
That's a really good perspective. And as I mentioned to you before we started recording, I work with and coach with a lot of entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs. And one of the things I hear from many of the successful ones, it sounds something like this. I got my family around the table and I said to my kids, I'm going for it. Here's why I'm going for it. Over the next 6 months, it might feel a little different around here. Is that part of what you're going after? And are you sure that's okay to do that?
Yes, 100%. Because if we don't communicate that to our children, we are perpetuating what I call this binary pitting against each other. Oh, you're either, let's use girl boss as a loose term, but you're either like pushing in your career and pushing towards goals, or you're in this like other camp of like stay at home mom. And when we look at the data, that is not how women are anymore. We're not in these two neatly defined camps. One in two women that have paused their careers are thinking about going back to work.
Hmm.
And a lot of women, I think that it's around 60% of people who are working are thinking about pausing their career.
Wow.
So we are constantly moving in the spectrum. And if we don't allow ourselves to say, I'm going for it, here's why, we constantly feel like we have to water it down. We say, "Oh, I'm going to make it look easy so no one sees that I'm really like hustling right now." And then no one sees and has permission to go for it. And the same goes for the other side. When we don't say, "Hey guys, career's not important to me for this 4 months. I'm status quo." Not everybody has the luxury of quitting their jobs and just, but like
Sure.
I'm in maintenance mode and here's why. Then we don't teach people that you have permission to do that. Like it's about the cycling through this spectrum over and over again and celebrating women specifically wherever they are on that sliding scale.
Feels very empowering, and it's also very counterculture on that. I love the analogy of the speed limit in your career. There's nothing wrong with that, but yet, if you're a Type A person, and we've been all ingrained with this, we've learned this hustle culture and about
Mhm.
creating a version of success. And somewhere we got off track. Where did this come from, Amanda? About this hustle culture, and how do we unlearn this and find a better way?
I always say hustle culture is really pushing without intention, right? So this idea of toxic grit, toxic hustle culture, because hustle is not inherently bad.
Mm.
I am hustling my butt off right now
Yes,
to
you
bring
are.
this book into the world. But I also have what I call a spin cycle coming up. And I talk about this. This is a whole chapter in my book. A spin cycle, as we all know, if you do laundry, it's the cycle that happens at the very end of the wash to take out all the water so that you don't have as much heaviness going into the
Mm-hmm.
dryer, right? When you are hustling and a part of hustle culture, you are not allowing for times and cycles to alleviate the intensity, to remove that buildup of intensity. You are just hustling without looking inward to say, is this still in alignment with what I want for my life? And so I put together different exercises that someone can do during a spin cycle to say, hey, right now, how far away am I from like the perfect day that I'd want to be living right now?
Nice.
And I like for me, I did this exercise and that led me to selling my company early because I
Really?
realized that I was moving from a place that was no longer in alignment with where I actually felt like I needed to be. I missed community. I was had been single for a long time. I really had placed so much weight and emphasis on the work side of things. I was like, okay, I think it's time for a spin cycle. I need to allow myself to like kind of shuffle things on the prioritization list. And then I took a year of just really like settling into that, planting roots. And when you allow, sometimes darkness can feel like just darkness, but it's actually you're just in the soil planting roots. And then you come the next season and you're sprouting up again and you're ready to show everybody your beauty and your growth and all of this stuff. But so many people, hustle culture is the constant growing with no root system, no foundation to say, yeah, I know why I'm here. I know what my purpose is.
That's really good. And for everyone listening right now, this is a really great time out. I would challenge everyone to listen to what Amanda is saying, and I'll ask you the question: Are you hustling, and what are you chasing, and why are you chasing it? Is it in alignment with what you want out of your life? Because I'm looking at it from a guy's standpoint here, Amanda. But I remember a point in my career when I desperately wanted to be a vice president of this pharmaceutical company. That was like the dream. And sold my soul to the devil in order to get it. But there was a point when I thought to myself, why am I chasing this again?
Mm-hmm.
What what is that? And so I think the fact that you're bringing this out in your book, Toxic Grit, I think is really going to be helping so many people. What type of feedback are you getting already? Some of the early reads of this, is it hitting the mark? Is my question.
It's been incredible to, you sit on something and you work on it for years and to start to like have it go into people's hands. Like a woman texted me recently and she was just like, or she DM'd me and she was like, I have never felt so much permission in my life to just actually find what's working for me.
Oh,
Right? I mean, we all sit on social media and it's a constant should. I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And the feedback I'm getting is no one has helped us understand the messy middle. There's books on how to succeed in your career. There's books on how to be the most amazing parent in the world. And this book really sits as a tactical guide for navigating that really messy, chaotic middle.
it's good, and you've lived it. The fact of your professional background, as we've already talked about, a mom. You're in a relationship right now as well, that you've talked about and you've written about. But yeah, what I love about this book is you have that life experience. You're not just a professor up in an ivory tower preaching to people. Feels like we're on this journey with you. Fair to say?
Yeah, it's so funny you should say that. I literally had an imposter syndrome moment that I'll share very vulnerably. I saw that there was this other book coming out, and it was from a PhD. And I sat there and I was like, I called my agent and I was like, oh my gosh, like, why would anybody read my book? And when there's like a PhD writing about this. And for anyone who's ever thought like they weren't smart enough, good enough, etc., I'll share what my agent said to me. She said, you have what people resonate with most, which is lived experience. Lived experience is, you can't replicate it, meaning you can't just study it and learn something. You are learning by doing. And so if you're currently in a season where you are home with your kids and building a side business and building something, like even just being home with your kids is lived experience. You're learning how to manage things, organize things. And I think we so often downplay the lived experience part of life when we are comparing ourselves to people with PhDs, et cetera. So I just wanted to share that because it's so funny you brought that up. Because I still have that.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. And your dad's a plumber too, so that gives you all the credibility in the world. I love that. Okay, Amanda, you are one of the best follows on social media, Instagram, and in particular on X. I love following you on X. Here's a recent post. You talk about if this book can just help even one person feel less like they're surviving their life, then it's all been worth it. And you were responding to the following from someone in your community that you gave a pre read to. Here's what she said: I didn't expect a book to make me cry, but Toxic Grit by Amanda Goetz hit something that's been living in my chest for years. The version of me that kept pushing to prove I was worthy. The one who thought burnout was just part of the price tag. The one who made exhaustion part of her identity. This book gave language to the tension I felt but never named. So you tell me, why is this book hitting that type of depth for people?
So many successful people, or I should say ambitious people, move their own finish line
Ooh,
constantly, right?
yeah.
Right. And I've run a few marathons. I know that that finish line is really important because you can't run forever. And no one has helped ambitious people really understand how to set your own finish lines and allow yourself to say, that was a great race. I'm going to pause. I'm going to rest. I'm going to recuperate. I'm going to figure out, do I want to keep running? And I think this book is not only this like rally cry of, you know, ambition is bad. It's like, no, ambition is great. It is not a habit to break. It is a trait to understand and to build systems around so that you can honor your ambition, go out and achieve big goals without depriving yourself of the things that make us whole, make us human. You shouldn't, if you aren't able to enjoy your kids or experience pleasure or create space for that, like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this is just giving a lot more terminology, vocabulary, and tactical tools for saying, well, which parts have I been depriving? And which ones am I ready to give a little more space to?
That's good. You mentioned the book, there are exercises. And for someone who's listening, maybe in their car, dropping multiple kids off at different daycares and private schools, and they're on their way to work, et cetera. But what is just one thing? What's just one thing that someone could do or try today that would help them move forward toward this new definition of success or relooking at ambition?
Yeah. So there's an exercise I call the perfect day exercise. I would have you, don't close your eyes if you're driving. But if you have a few minutes, maybe you're just going to the bathroom, like who knows? But like whatever it is, we can find a few pockets of minutes and sit down and just allow yourself to picture what a perfect day would look like in your life. If you could wave a magic wand and you could live that day however you wanted, money is not an object. What comes up, and picture it in such granular detail. Like wake up in your bed and look around. What do your sheets look like? What's happening outside? Are you in a house? Are you in a apartment? Like where are you? What city are you in? And then go through the whole day. What do you do with your time? All the way until your head hits the pillow at the end of the day. If you allow yourself to sink into that exercise, what it reveals to you is the areas of your life that are screaming for attention. I do this exercise once a year. I usually do a solo trip for a weekend somewhere. I'll drive somewhere or I'll go somewhere and I'll do this exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I do it, something is revealed to me. Whether the day is like full of people, I'm like out going for walks with friends, I have dinners with friends. Oh, I am craving community. If it's a time where I sit and like, I'm like, oh, I am speaking on stages. I'm at Good Morning America. Like, oh, I'm ready to push. And
Really good.
allow yourself to run that exercise every once in a while to see which parts of yourself are really screaming for some attention.
Boy, do I like that exercise. By the way, you said if you allow yourself, you mentioned that twice. Why would someone not allow themselves to do that?
When you've not done a lot of the inner work to understand your own programming, that's what blocks us. Once you see our subconscious is made up of decisions that we made about ourselves way early in life. Oh, I'm too much. I am not smart enough. And you make those decisions at a subconscious level. And
Sure.
when you don't do the work to understand these decisions you made about yourself and choose to make new decisions as the adult that you are, those are the blockers that will always say, well, I can't dream about going on Good Morning America. Who am I? I'm just a
Exactly.
small town Midwest girl with a plumber for a dad,
That's right.
right? That's the block that you
Right.
have to actually work through because that's just a story that's deep down that is wired into your programming.
And by the way, one thing that I do, Amanda, that's worked for me, I'm not saying everyone has to do it, but a personal retreat, to get in this rhythm of retreat. And you don't
Love.
have to spend a lot of money, but go somewhere that's special to you where you can reconnect with your soul. And I go up to the mountains up near Jackson, Wyoming, and I go to this little place just for a couple nights. And I have it on the calendar. Otherwise, I'll never do
Yep.
it. Life will get in the way. Can you understand?
I love that. I that's my I do one solo trip a year. I
Yeah.
had never taken a solo trip. I got married obviously very young. I was always someone's something. I was someone's wife, I was someone's mom, I was someone's, boss. And only until after my divorce did I take my first solo trip, and it was the first time that I realized I don't have to be anyone's anything right now. And that was the first time that I actually could think about what do I want? Because you're playing a role for other people constantly in your life. And you actually have to physically separate so that you can say, who am I independent of everyone else?
Okay, there's another aha moment, and there's a lot of heads nodding right now with what you just said. So yeah, okay, everyone. The name of the book is Toxic Grit: How to Have It All and Actually Love What You Have. Amanda, what would you hope that someone would think or do differently as a result of buying and implementing some of the exercises and principles in this book?
Mm, I would hope that someone can start to alleviate the guilt that they feel that feels perpetual in everyday life, that they go do a workout guilt free, that they go enjoy their partner guilt free, that they go on a solo trip guilt free. That's what I would hope.
It's great, good. And I think that that's going to resonate with so many people. Amanda, what's the best way to follow you and everything that you have going on? You're doing a lot.
Yeah, I think in good old fashioned Instagram. If you want access to the behind the scenes of the chaos of my life, I'm pretty raw and vulnerable on there. And so it's just the Amanda Goetz on Instagram, or you could go to amandagoetz.com, sign up for my newsletter where I share a lot more about what I'm learning and practical frameworks that I'm thinking about.
It's good. Great newsletter. Great follow on Instagram. I agree. Hey, Amanda, at the end of every episode, this is my favorite part, by the way. At the end of
Okay.
every episode, I ask my guests, what is your I Dare You challenge for all of us? It's that one thing that we could do or try to live a better life. I can't wait for this. Amanda, what is your I Dare You challenge for all of us?
My I dare you challenge for anyone listening is to do one thing today guilt free for you. Just one thing. What would that be? If you could literally do one thing for yourself today that doesn't doesn't have to make money, it doesn't have to do something for your kids, your partner, what would that be? And if you struggle with that, you're like, I don't know what I would do. Then maybe that's a signal to figure out, go a little deeper, spend some more time with yourself to allow yourself to tap back into those versions of yourself that seems like you might have suppressed. So create a little pocket of space today.
I like that I Dare You challenge. It's something we can implement today. Hey, Amanda, I'm going to take a quick time out. You've given a lot of podcast interviews and other interviews to promote Toxic Grit. Is there one question that people just never seem to get around to, or do you think that I've missed in this interview that we really should talk about? A big point that you think people keep missing about this book?
That's a great question. Um, let me think for a second. I would say the thing that people keep missing is that this book is about abolishing hustle and hustle culture. And I am trying to remove this binary feeling of that hustle is good or bad and that rest is good or bad.
Hmm.
We keep pitting these two things against each other. And I just want to remind people that this is about this spectrum of seasons of life and sliding back and forth and finding where you are today, this month, this year in that spectrum, and being unapologetic about where you are. If you are in a season of life where all you want to do is be home with your kids and enjoy that season, we are celebrating it. And if you are in a season of life where you work 7 days a week and that's what you want to do because you have a big goal, we are celebrating it. And so this book is not just about abolishing the idea of hustle, it's about creating awareness and intentionality about when and how you're doing it.
That's good. Look, it's been described as this rally cry, and I think you just described it perfectly. That sounds like a rally cry and a roadmap. So congratulations again on Toxic Grit. And Amanda, I mentioned to you before we started recording, I've been following you for a number of years and just following your story and your journey. And I don't know you well, but I just got to tell you, I'm just so happy for you. Congratulations. And thank you so much for being on the I Dare You podcast. It's been an honor.
Same. The honor is mine. Thank you so much for having me.